Brownies are delicious. They're my absolute favorite dessert in the whole wide world. And today I'm going to show you that there is a big difference between box brownies and homemade brownies. I have always been a fan of box brownies because I never thought that homemade brownies tasted as good. And I tried several recipes and never found one that I liked. But who doesn't like a brownie, right? They're warm and they're chocolatey. They're heaven in my opinion. Although brownies aren't on a dieter's list of go-to snacks, there is a healthier way of going about eating brownies and enjoying them without sacrificing flavor and textures. I don't like processed food and I try to stay away from it when I can. But to be honest, brownies in a box tasted better than the homemade stuff, which is unusual because most of the time homemade food and homemade stuff that you make at home does taste better than the processed, unnatural things that you buy at a store. But with some extensive research and some sacrificial taste testing, I found a recipe that beats the queen, Betty Crocker. And I also have the recipe so that you can try it at home and make it yourself and can prove that it's the truth. Betty Crocker's boxed brownies, they're very delicious, but if you look at the ingredients, you can see that I have some circled here that's not very clear. You can't really see them very well, but I've circled some that made me a little unsure, and so I Googled them and found out that one of the things that are in Betty Crocker's brownies are sodium alginate, which is made from a brown algae then purified. It's used as a thickening agent in ice creams and soy sauces. It enhances flavor. It's also used as a thickener for gravies and puddings. But very unnatural, and because it's sodium, it means it retains water, and anyone who has to watch out for blood pressure issues would want to stay away from this ingredient because it does make the body have to work harder because it adds fluid, and the body has to circulate the fluid. It leads to increased blood pressure. The American Heart Association recommends taking less than 1,500 milligrams of sodium each day, but if you eat a whole lot of boxed food like this or any other kind, you look and see the amount of sodium that's in there and you'll find that it's really hard to keep it under that 1,500 milligrams of sodium. I also found that one of the ingredients in Betty Crocker's boxed brownies are hydrogenated oils, which contain high levels of trans fat. Trans fats are poisons. They're like arsenic and cyanide, which everyone knows end badly for anyone who comes into contact with them. They interfere with the metabolic process of life which happens naturally in our body. It takes the place of the natural substances that our body creates on its own. It's almost like a good cop, bad cop, or security guard. The good cop or good security guard is very aware of what enters the body, and if something unnatural and dangerous enters the body, it can stop it. But when trans fats come into play with the good cop, they become bad cops and don't regulate what enters the body. Good things and bad things enter the body, and the trans fats make it to where there's nothing that can be done about it. They just enter in the body, which is not good for the body. They're very unnatural, and they can cause some serious issues as well. Hydrogenated oil, which is trans fats, can cause obesity and other heart problems like heart attack, and as well as congestive heart failure. I grew up in a family where most of everything that we ate was homemade or homegrown. I understand that's not easy for everybody, but my mom was it was very important to my mom to do that. So as an adult now, I also can see where making homemade stuff is much better than buying the processed stuff. I mean, look. It's a lot of ingredients. It's over 20 ingredients in just a brownie. Things that I can barely pronounce. Artificial flavors, lots of sugar, lots of oils. Even the milk's processed, the sugars are processed. Everything that's in this box of brownies is processed. And no, brownies are not healthy. They're chocolate, they're sugar, and they're fat. But processed fat, processed milk, processed butter, processed sugar is worse for your body than pure sugar, natural butter, and flour that hasn't been touched by different chemicals and different machinery. So the key here is to, when you make things at home, you see what you put in it. Your hands measure the food, measures the ingredients, so you know what you're putting into your body. Whereas when you buy box goods like this, you have to deal with those labels of very unhealthy, chemical, processed foods that have been handled by lots and lots of people and been on lots and lots of machines and then end up in this package. I was a pro for this, but after this research, it's made me very scared to go and buy things off of the shelf. These brownies, this is a homemade brownie, is thinner than this Betty Crocker's brownie. But they're pretty much the same, except for the homemade brownie doesn't have all of the preservatives in it. It took just a few ingredients. It took butter, sugar, cocoa, salt, vanilla, eggs, flour, and you can choose pecans or walnuts to go in them. That's it. That's all that's in my brownies. They're called the Best Cocoa Brownies, and they are made, I got the recipe from a lady named Alice Medrick. She is the author of a book called Semi-Sweet. I tried out this recipe several weeks ago and fell in love with it. The chocolate tastes pure and natural, and although I loved Betty Crocker's brownies, after I tasted these, it was very easy to make the switch and choose to go for the more natural and homemade brownie. So I can add this to my list of homemade goods that I like to eat. Now, with that being said, you shouldn't eat brownies all the time. It's not healthy for you. But if you are going to eat brownies, going with the homemade natural brownie is the way to go. It's better for your body. You're not pumping yourself full of chemicals and unnatural additives that can cause problems in the future for your body. I know that a lot of the things we eat have preservatives and additives in it, but if you look at the recipe and you look at the ingredients that's on the list of the box, it's part of the law to have these ingredients. You look and you can check these out on the internet. You can Google them. Wikipedia gives you information on what these ingredients are. You can find out what these ingredients are, what they come from, and what they can actually do to the body. And you'll find that it's just not good. And it might take a little bit of extra time to make a homemade brownie or homemade bread or anything that's homemade, but it is in the long run better for your body. And something else that I found really interesting is this box of brownies was $2.99. I did the count up of the ingredients that I already had. All the ingredients that go into my brownies I already had, and it costed me $2.41. That's a difference of 58 cents. So it being more healthy for my body and being a little less expensive is a winner for me. I hope you will try out my recipe. It's listed on my outline for my speech. I hope you'll try it and really enjoy it, and will truly try and make an effort to go with the homegrown natural foods.